Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We are sitting as Hamilton Township Council today. One preamble that I would ask is that when we are speaking, any of us, including the audience, that we speak directly into the microphone. I understand it's more easily understood when we do so. And that would go for us as council members too. Although I'm finding it hard to believe that I need a microphone anywhere, but I will try to do my best as well. It is 1 o'clock. I would like to call this meeting to order. We do have quorum in that we have all of council members here. We do have staff here with us, including the clerk's department. So our next order of business is our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectfully acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contributions to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest here today? Seeing none, that shall be recorded. Item 4 on our agenda. It is actually the confirmation of our agenda. Can I have a motion, please? Our agenda has been circulated. Moved by John, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Delegations. Regarding telecommunications tower on Burnham Street North, presented by the planning manager at Shared Tower, Cheyenne. Please, if you would come to the microphone. And I'll just restate the obvious that went by 30 seconds ago. The microphone, please.
I will try. So I'm a bit tall here. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. My name again, Cheyenne Zierler, and I'm here on behalf of Shared Network for the proposed installation of a 65-meter self-support telecommunications tower at 3753 Burnham Street in Cobourg. There we go. So the area of this proposed tower has a coverage gap from a relatively high distance between neighboring tower sites. The proposed new installation will aid the current wireless services, and the tower height will allow an opportunity for all of the national carriers as well as local WISPs to improve their coverage and services to the local community by co-locating on the tower. Am I pointing it to the wrong direction someone? No. Okay. The closest existing towers that you will see here on the map depict the significant coverage gap in the area. There is an existing bell tower approximately 3.8 kilometers away, which is too far to provide optimum service for the coverage area. And the next closest towers are a Freedom Mobile installation approximately 6.3 kilometers away, and a Rogers installation approximately 6.6 kilometers away. To quickly review how these coverage gaps happen, as the population increases, there are gaps in service that develop, and as more people work from home, there are capacity issues. In order to help alleviate the gaps in service that the community is experiencing and providing a continuous level of reliable service, Shared Network is proposing this tower for more service providers to co-locate on and provide services to the area. After speaking with the landlords to discuss a new location on the property, here is an aerial view of the property. And the new proposed tower location is marked in yellow, labeled SNC 140 tower location. The other yellow label that you'll see there is the location from the road that the rendering on the next slide, the view was taken from. So here's a rendering of the proposed tower on the property. This proposed tower will be built with the goal, again, of co-location to limit the need for more towers in the area. The height will meet the carrier requirements, and the style of this tower allows for light to pass through and blend with surroundings rather than having a solid structure. As part of the public consultation process, as per the township's protocol, a public information package was sent out to the residents in the prescribed radius, providing information about the proposal, the public open house, and the last day for commenting. Signage was also posted on the property with this information, along with a public notice ad published in the Northumberland newspaper. No comments, questions, or inquiries were received during the 30-day commenting period. The public information session was held at the Cold Springs Memorial Hall from 6 to 8 p.m. And there were follow-up emails sent out to the attendees addressing the questions that came up at the public information session and new questions afterwards. So there were 7 attendees that came through between 6 and 8 p.m. 3 of the attendees inquired about the timeline of getting a tower up, and 2 inquired if there was an expedited process. 1 attendee who was opposed to the previous location stated that they were fine with the new location if it could not be seen from their property. 4 of the attendees expressed that they preferred the originally proposed location. However, they also stated that they were fine with the newly proposed location. And 1 attendee was a council member who stopped by to see the turnout. Here I have attached a comment card that was received by attendee at the public open house stating their preference for the previous location. All of the resident contact information and names were provided for to the township for this file, but have not been included in this presentation. One of the questions asked at the public information session was in regards to whether the new proposed location would be visible from the resident's property. In this photo, you can see the comparison of the previously proposed location to the right. To the left of that, there is a small red line where it may be able to be seen from the resident's property either during the winter when the leaves are gone or from their residence themselves. Otherwise, it is behind the tree line. Some of the other relevant questions that were asked in regards to the services that would be available on the tower. Rogers is one of the carriers that will be co-locating on this proposed tower, and they have identified this area to have poor cell phone coverage for regular and emergency calls. Their equipment will also be used as part of the EORN program in this part of Ontario. Fixed wireless internet is also present in rural areas, which is a wireless broadband internet connection that uses a network of cell phone towers to connect smart devices. And Shared Network will be actively working with other carriers to co-locate on the tower as more services will then become available to the community. Another relevant question was in regards to why it could not be located at the Cold Springs Memorial Hall. The reason why is that that tower currently on site does not support all of the equipment that would be required and has fallen in the past, so a higher tower would not be supported by its current foundation. The current proposed tower requires a 15 by 15 meter compound to host the required equipment, which would most likely take up space from the park or parking area if it were to be proposed there. As the consultation period has now concluded, Shared Network is requesting that the Township of Hamilton issue a statement of concurrence for this proposal. And now I believe there is a 5-minute question and answer periods for any additional questions.
Thank you. I believe there will be some questions. Council members, please, any questions? Or would we like to get the staff report on this at this point in time? What would staff suggest? Council, John?
I just have a question for young lady.
Very well.
You said you sent packages out to the radius. What radius is that from Cold Springs?
So the radius was provided by the planning coordinator as per the township protocol. I don't have the exact kilometer measurement. Perhaps it'll be in the report, but the mailing addresses were provided and approved by the township.
Thank you.
Larry?
The new location is very close to the road, is that correct?
It is, yes.
And what are the people right directly west of that location on Burnham Street? What was their input with regards to the location?
So the input that I did receive, I believe it was the second last house on the west side of the street there, and they did prefer the originally proposed location. That was one of the attendees that came through and stated that, but they said that they needed something, so this was better than nothing.
They were willing to forego the.
Right.
And the previous location, it was declined because of the objection from one of the residents across the street on the north side.
Yes,
And that was the only indication for why we didn't do that location.
to my knowledge, yes. We were asked to find another location.
Now, if in case there would be a horrific weather scene and the tower was to fall, that is going to hit the road, that hit the road at that time? From
If-
that location, would it possibly hit the road?
There would be the possibility of that, yes. After this part of the proposal in terms of the application, we are still required to go through the process of having engineering, soils, winds reports, everything completed, as well as going through Transport Canada and Navigation Canada, so that the application is completed and then that's sent off to ISED, which the federal government.
I just have one other question. Do you have any interest from any of the other carriers other than Rogers to
Uh,
share that service?
We have been speaking with, I know we've spoken with Bell and possibly TELUS as well. My colleague here actually works directly with the carriers, so we're actively having weekly meetings with the other carriers to see if they would be co-locating on it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question, dealing with the radius of this tower once it's built, how much radius will this one take over, and how many residents roughly will it look after?
That is a great question. I don't have the number of residents at my disposal right now, but we chose the height of 65 meters to have a greater reach for the carriers. The terrain, as you know, is very hilly and there's lots of shadowing that can happen. So we're expecting the coverage to reach 6.5 kilometers to 10 kilometers respectively.
If I could just follow up, will that include parts of Camborne then? Will it be able to touch Camborne, which is community just south of where you're proposing?
It would be then, if it's within that 6.5 to 10 kilometer radius, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Bruce, please.
Yeah, just quick, the original proposed site, would it have had any more additional benefits? Would it have been a better site than the secondary site that's been proposed?
The elevation is higher, so it would have had just that little bit more reach rather than being situated down the hill a little bit and being more subjected to the hills on the property.
Any other questions? My turn. Thank you for your presentation, first of all. As planning manager at Shared Tower, will Shared Tower be the owner of this structure when it's completed?
Yes,
And as such, your company will have the opportunity to say yes or no to other carriers.
I don't believe we've ever said no to a carrier co-locating on a site. Shared tower or shared network, it's in the company name. That is what our goal is to do, is to have carriers co-locate. But to answer your question plainly, yes, we would have that option to say yes or no.
Thank you. In the case of looking for other sites, I heard you say that you looked for other locations on the existing property. How many other locations were looked at?
We had a search ring of, I believe, about 3 to 4 kilometers in that area. Unfortunately, part of finding a site that reaches the carrier requirements is finding a willing landlord. So that was very difficult to do in the area, but they did go out looking for other sites as well.
So there's no number in that answer, so we don't know a number?
I don't have an answer I don't have a number for you today. I could certainly provide that afterwards after I double check.
There has been conversation about the municipal property at Cold Springs Hall. Did any representative of your company reach out to the municipality?
I don't believe so, no.
Interesting. I don't think any of us felt that the existing tower at Cold Springs Hall would have been suitable for your equipment. So we could set that aside, I'm sure, for conversation. At this moment in time, with the information you've been able to share with us, in the absence of numbers of locations that you may have gone to, I'm a little disappointed. I'm also frustrated with the number of towers that we have in the area and the lack of sharing. I don't understand the engineering, but it seems as though there's always an engineering component that says the next guy's tower is no good for us, which we've heard in this room repeatedly. I look at the numbers that you shared and you talk about your potential service area, I think, which was 6.8 kilometers. I didn't write that down. And then I go back to the tower on Racetrack Road and Dale Road. And it's, in your numbers again, something less than 6.8. That doesn't compute for me. I don't understand. Not in the business. But I do look at the number of towers that we have in the area, and it's ever increasing and ever increasing. And we as individuals are demanding that. So I need clarity on what is this tower going to do for me and my cell phone service when I'm at Cold Springs Hall? What is it going to do for me for my internet service when I'm at Cold Springs Hall? And why I've chosen that building is that I have a history of both of those, or the lack of connection there. And I know that the people in the general area have a lack of connection. What is this tower going to do once it's constructed? Not down the road 10 years when Bell might consider tying on, or anything in the future. Talking about upfront day one when the tower is complete. What's it going to do for my cell and internet?
When the tower is complete and Rogers has their equipment installed on the tower, because that's when there will be connection. We're just the infrastructure company. So once they've installed the equipment, there will be the connection with Rogers, and they are also handling the EORN project in this area. So this is part of that program for them. They're counting that tower as part of this program. So there will be increased service for the Rogers customers, as well as if there are any WISPs installed on it as well.
When this tower is completed,
Mhm.
does its ownership remain with shared tower, or does it get turned over to a carrier before we know it?
No, it does not get turned over to a carrier.
So then in effect, if we were to sit here and come up with some suggestion that we wanted plated blue and gray, are you in a position that you can bind the company that request could be dealt with?
Yes,
You are. And our staff will be making a presentation shortly following yourself. And there will be a process of conversation there, allowing for opportunity, I believe. So thank you for your answers.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all? Thank you.
Sandra, I believe you would be making a presentation on this topic. Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you, Mayor Jib and members of Committee of the Whole. I would like to clarify that the presentation today from the proponent and my presentation identifies the public consultation process. If committee is satisfied, then committee will direct staff to work with the proponent with respect to the site plan. Once the site plan agreement is signed, registered on title, then I will come back to council with a request for a letter of concurrence. The letter of concurrence is not under debate today. With respect to the proposal in front of you, yes, this was before Committee of the Whole back in July. The initial tower was intended to be within the existing building cluster on the subject farm near the silo. However, one of the neighbors was not pleased and requested further investigation, and committee said, yes, please do further investigate. So Shared Networks was very generous and did go forward with their further investigation and found another site on the same property, but away from the existing building cluster. Because it was so far away from the initial site and much closer to other residential units in the area, it was determined that a second public information session was required, and that was held in February, about a month ago. With respect to the policies and protocols established by the township, to date, the applicant has fulfilled the requirements, and I am prepared to recommend to the committee that the site plan agreement and site plan drawings be forwarded to staff for formal review. Of course, the manager of development services will be signing off together with the clerk, will be signing off on the final site plan agreement before it gets registered on title. I do note that I put a package on your desk earlier this morning. There is an updated submission from Shared Network. It was received yesterday. It is a different submission than what is in the staff report, but it does cover what Ms. Zeiler has presented to you. I also note that Committee of the Whole did receive an email through the clerk's office, a letter from Ms. Rebecca Manson of 8633 Wallace Jib Road, outlining her concerns regarding the proposal. It is a lengthy letter, and I know you received it yesterday, so I don't wish to review it again today. I received another letter yesterday from Tracy Webster, 3861 Burnham Street. It is within the additional package, and I will read that to the committee if that's agreeable. I would like to submit this correspondence on the above referenced item. I request the previous location be considered when approving the telecommunication tower. The current proposed location will place the tower in a location that I see as being more obvious on the beautiful landscape of our community. It is an elevated location next to the road with little features to detract from and help it blend with its surroundings. The previous location was less elevated and near farm buildings. That location would have been better buffered with vegetation to the north and east sides of its location. I think that location would be less obvious to the majority, even if not preferred by all members of the community. I did attend both open houses. The first site location meeting was well attended, and it seemed that most in the community were there in support, as we need better service in the area. Whichever location is selected, I hope that there will be an approval forthcoming so we can receive better coverage. I also received an email back in August, and I made a commitment to the author of the email that I would read it at the next Committee of the Whole meeting. This is from Diane Hoekstra, HRUSKA, 3617 Alnwick Hill Road. I would like to express my strong opposition to another cell phone tower being constructed in Hamilton Township. My position is based in part on material provided by Radiation Health Risk at, and she's given a internet link. Here it is stated that cell phone tower radiation is very harmful. It disrupts your body's own EMFs, causing many kinds of health problems such as headaches, memory loss, cardiovascular stress, low sperm count, birth defects, and various types of cancer. There are literally hundreds of peer-reviewed scientific studies by non-biased scientists from all around the world that show these harmful health problems. And the studies found that the closer people lived to these towers, the higher amounts of these medical conditions occurred. Links to peer-reviewed scientific studies that focused on the harmful effects of lower frequency and 5G are provided in this article. I believe she was referring to the link. These towers have been popping up everywhere with much greater frequency since March of 2020 and are not only harmful, but have become an eyesore. I can't imagine how anyone would want construction near their property just because we were told we require faster internet service. It's time to have a conversation about the balance between the need for so-called technological advances and the need to protect our health and quality of life. Thank you for taking the time to address these concerns. In conclusion, Mr. Mayor, I do believe that this project is prepared to go forward to staff for the site plan review. And I look forward to the direction from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. We do have a prepared motion here that staff be directed to work with the proponent to finalize the required site plan agreement, incorporating committee comments and bring forward to the site plan approval authority. Forgive me, I'm misreading, and bring forward the site plan approval authority for approval. That's a prepared motion for today's presentations. Larry, would you like to comment or provide?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm a bit confused on the whole situation because I think when we look at the number of people who are at these public meetings, the first site had only one objection. In the second public meeting, there were 4 of the 7 that would have preferred the first location. To my mind, the new site location next to Burnham Road is going to be far more obtrusive in the community versus the first site. And when you come down the road along Burnham Street, the panoramic view of our township will be destroyed by another communication tower. The first site, although it's objectionable by one individual, it's farther from population, which would possibly answer some of the questions from Mrs. Horiska or Ms. Horiska. And I don't know why we couldn't ask shared services to go back to the first site, as it would, I think, be more preferred from my point of view. And I think also from the number of people within the public meetings. So that's what I've got to say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I guess we're going back to any other comments? Please, Mark.
And this would be to Sandra. Is there any setbacks that the county have for having a tower that close to the roadside? That you're aware of, or?
Through the mayor, it's my understanding that the county has a 100-foot, 30-meter setback from the center line of the road. So in reviewing of the site plan agreement, that will definitely be discussed and confirmed. That's my understanding, but that's from experience with the county. But again, that will be confirmed with them through the site plan process.
Thank you, because that makes a little difference. I mean, if it's going to be set further back more into the middle of that field, it gets to Mr. Williamson's point that it's going to be a horrendous looking.
Go ahead, John.
Yes, thank you. Sandra, the other question I have, I believe the county is very objectionable to the fact of having driveways on the county road leading into fields. Is that correct? Have in the past?
I don't have that definitive information. It will be discussed with the county. If necessary, an entrance permit will be issued as per the county protocols, or perhaps a driveway through the existing property would be the best option. But that would be something that I need to confirm with the county.
Thank you.
I guess I would like to provide a comment following Mr. Williamson's thoughts. Yes, shared towers were asked to look at alternate sites. I don't know that we've accomplished the sites part of the review that was requested. It would seem as though we've been limited to the same property. We've had the representative unable to answer questions about other components. I personally think that shared tower has not accomplished what we wanted. We wanted a site that was suitable without objections. We've not accomplished that. In fact, we made it worse. I personally don't believe that shared tower shouldn't be asked again to go back and revisit and look at all of the things, including all of the concerns of our ratepayers. We are here to represent those ratepayers, and we don't seem to be heading in the proper direction of our representation of them. And that would be my position. Again, we have a motion that we can consider, being it redirects staff to move forward with the site plan approval process, review process, or any motion that could come from the floor. Would anyone like to prepare, or would anyone like to state a motion that can be considered? Yes, Larry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Then I would place a motion forward that we ask shared services to go back and reevaluate the site location for this tower that would meet the criteria that you just outlined there. So that's my motion.
It's been moved. Do we have a seconder to the motion? Bruce? Any further discussion? Any further comments?
We're gonna go forward with that motion. Can we get information from the county also to come back to the next, when we meet again, so that we're clear on where that tower needs to be?
I'm sure our staff will sort that out for us. Mark? Any further comments, questions, or requests? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. We're running a little behind, so we'll quickly bounce into closed session. Could I have a motion, please, to move the closed session to discuss matters permitted under Municipal Act 239-2? B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Regarding advisory committee recruitment and township cemeteries. Prepared motion. It is recommended that Council of Corporation Township of Hamilton acts as follows: that the committee of the whole meeting held on March 14th, 2023, go into closed session at 1:32 p.m. under the Municipal Act, sections 239-2, B and C. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?